Hello everyone. Welcome to TestingWhiz webinar for accelerating your digital transformation journey with smart and intelligent automation testing. I'm Nikita Ahuja, working as a business analyst in TestingWhiz, and I'm into automation domain from a couple of years.
Right. I'm Balbod Jha, working as a product lead in TestingWhiz, and I have a throughout experience in automation and its automation test practices.
We'll be the speakers for today's webinar.
Yes. So in this webinar, we would be discussing about
TestingWhiz journey towards digital transformation.
multiple strategies to automation testing.
We will also see how TestingWhiz is validating data onto big data platforms and integrating with testing ecosystem for collaborating on enterprise level. Followed by, we will be exploring TestingWhiz 2019. So we will see what are the new features to be developed in TestingWhiz with the upcoming releases. Lastly, we will have a quick tool demonstration all the topics discussed. So TestingWhiz has been into automation market from around 6 years now, and it is developed by its parent company, Signet Infotech. Signet Infotech is a 19-year-old IT products and services company, an ISO certified and CMMI level 3 organization. TestingWhiz is a codeless test automation tool mainly designed to reduce manual and automation testing efforts compared to primitive test automation solutions available in the market. It offers support to web, mobile, API, database, and backend testing methodologies. We are also highlighted in major online publications and review websites, namely Capterra, G2 Crowd, UText, and magazines like Gartner, TechTarget, etc. So, what is the transformation? So, I think every organization needs to evolve to address the changing business landscapes. And digital transformation can be defined as the execution of all the business activities, processes, competencies, and models. These are really essential to fully leverage the opportunities of digital technologies and their impact in a strategic and prioritized way for each IT software company.
Right. So that brings us to one question, Nikita. Do these innovations bring value to organization? Are they easily adopted? This brings us to another factor like customer behavior. What are the customer demands and expectations on the business? I mean, what are the demands on technology to meet business needs? Customer demands increase technological capabilities, and that too combined with the desire for user friendliness.
Of course, Balbut. And I think to meet customer demands, organizations should consider replacing their traditional waterfall processes with agile development. And I think agile methodologies are the backbone for any digital transformation. Gradually, to move faster, all new application development must follow a more iterative set of capabilities.
Right. Nowadays, I think enterprises have adapted their processes to avoid risk and maintain stability by establishing rigorous change management. This is why rapid delivery with value is necessary with small delivery cycles. All of these, I understand, can lead us to achieve our common goal, that is customer satisfaction to a greater extent.
Yes, and that's where we need digital transformation to have a seamless customer experience. So, how TestingWhiz is helping users and clients to move towards digital transformation?
Right. So codeless test automation, I think this is the future, which is like handy tool to any user to jumpstart their automation without any coding language skills. Now testing with having around 300 plus inbuilt test commands to create your automation scenario helps this in a greater extent.
Correct. And in addition to that, TestingWhiz follows keyword-driven architecture, which helps the user to easily automate any complex business use case just by searching the keyword.
Right. On top of that, I would say that um, TestingWhiz has an integrated environment with evolving technology and expectations from organizations. That is, TestingWhiz has capabilities to integrate with multiple third-party solution providers like Browser Stack for cloud execution, or we have test management tool integrations, bug tracking tool integrations, CI/CD tool integrations, version control system integrations like Git, etc.
Also, testing includes multiple reusable components such as methods, variables, centralized object repository, and as we discussed, it follows keyword-driven architecture. So all of these combine towards helping the users to deploy their automation test cases in a faster and reliable manner. So for example, if you're looking to automate a use case where you have to log in to your Gmail account. So for that, you can just search input keyword in TestingWhiz and use that input keyword to input your username and password in your automated test case. Followed by, if you're looking to automate your click event on the login page, you can just search click and use the click keyword to automate your test case and execute it.
Right. So how does it help? How a UI of a manual test case would look like to automate something on a user-friendly or an automation tool? So we bring you an exact comparison of manual test case to an automated test case that is available with TestingWhiz.
Correct. So I think there are four primary components to effectively write a manual test case. In this slide, we would like to highlight how testing can be easily mapped with a manual test case. Testing follows a traditional test case hierarchy, which can help the user to write automated test case in a jiffy. So as we can see, there's a test suite, which represents the test case scenarios, which includes multiple test cases. Then we have test case, which represents the manual test case that are the set of conditions or variables. Then we have test command. Test command represents the test steps which are procedure to be performed. And then we have value. Value includes the test data that are used while executing the test case. So this is how you can easily map your manual test data and create your automated test case in TestingWhiz.
Right. As IT industry is rapidly moving towards automation testing, to achieve high quality software within a short period of time is is one of the key objects of every software company. So in their attempt to do more or less, they seek different ways to reduce testing effort and overall the time to build the entire software without compromising on the quality. This typically needs to consider about how to implement automation testing in an efficient and fruitful manner.
But however, Balbut, you cannot completely switch to automation testing and throw away the manual testing.
Right.
So TestingWhiz offers some intelligent test automation strategies to enjoy the benefits of automation testing and exceed the boundaries of manual processes to achieve the desired level of success.
Right. So end-to-end validations for integration testing. Now, if we talk about this particular strategy, TestingWhiz provides feasibility to test the production results using multiple validations on every layer of your application, that too in a single test case.
And that significantly reduce the time and cost. For example, we can add validation on API layer, UI layer, and database, which can map your end-to-end flow using a single test case.
Coming to the second point, FTP validations. Now, this is again very much important if you're dealing with a document management application which utilizes FTP processes. As a tester, you have a job to validate the ensure. I mean, to you have the job to validate the security and the data integrity of the documents that are available on the system. So that is something which you can do it in testing with just drag and drop test commands. Third point, which is like I would like to highlight, is support of shell scripting and PowerShell scripting that would allow to complete the circle to test your end-to-end flow of your application cycle. So you have option of running shell scripts on the command line, which are available on Unix based systems. It allows you to create small but efficient programs to carry out and automate OS based tasks within a short period of time.
Correct. So if you're thinking to migrate your structured database to big data platforms, there's also an option of TestingWhiz to automate data cleansing activity. This will help you to monitor errors, standardize processes, validate accuracy, identify duplicates during the migration of your data, and maintain data consistency to make reliable data-driven decisions at the same time.
Wonderful.
So, Balwad, as we were talking about big data, there comes a question in my mind, like what are the essential components to perform big data testing?
So if that's exactly a good question about big data testing, like if I'm concerned about big data, then data validation is one of the most critical components that I am looking about, um, validating certain amount of data with like let's say if you are validating a huge chunk, especially when you're migrating from database systems to your unstructured database systems. Like there is data validation testing matters most because it helps an individual to ensure that the data which they are dealing with is not corrupted and are responsible for checking that the provided data is accurate or not.
Correct. Also, in addition to that, you can use TestingWhiz to validate volume, variety, and velocity of data. You can also identify the differences and bad data after various implementations. You can also perform migration and integration processes and ensure that your functional and non-functional requirements of data are met accurately to perform error-free processes and analytics.
Right. So moving on, let's see about what are the supported integrations which we have.
So, TestingWhiz offers integrations with multiple third-party service providers. So, we offer integration with various test management tools such as TestRail, Zephyr, HPQC, VSTS. We are also offering integrations with CI/CD tools such as Bamboo and Jenkins for cloud execution. We also offered integration with defect management tools such as Jira, Mantis, VSTS, and Fogbugs. Moving to that, we also offer seamless integration with multiple version control tools such as and Git.
So that's talking about how are the strategies to digitally transform your testing. Now, I think that there's something should be evolving each and every day for tools to survive or uh, adopt to the changing landscape of testing. So, what are the new things that are offered in testing, with Nikita?
Definitely, I agree, Balbo. So there are many new features and very useful features we will be implemented in TestingWhiz with the upcoming releases. So the first feature that is export report to multiple formats. So now users will be able to export their testing report into multiple formats such as PDF, CSV, and Excel. We are also offering support for APM desired capabilities. So presently, there were very limited set of capabilities to perform mobile testing using TestingWhiz, but from now, users will be able to add various APM desired capabilities within the application itself. We are already providing integration with Bitbucket. From the upcoming releases, we will be providing support for PDF to PDF comparison as well. And coming to a very essential feature, that is test case dependency. So from now, users will be able to add dependency between multiple test cases and execute it based on the defined dependencies. We will be also enhancing reporting features with the upcoming releases.
Right, that was a lot of talking. Now let's come to tool exact demo. So I'll move quickly, jump onto the tool and show you a quick demo of what we have in store for you in terms of automation test cases. So as you see, TestingWhiz is a desktop-based test automation tool currently available on Windows. We'll be soon coming up with Mac version of TestingWhiz. And once you install the tool, you would be able to see this screen. Once you close this, you have a UI which is very familiar, as we talked about how a test case can be mapped to a particular test case, a manual test case on the uh, Excel sheet. So if I'm talking about a test case that is available under a test suite, and a test suite can be multiple, like you can add multiple test suites, and that is available under project. So if I talk about a test suite or a test module, then that can be marked as a test scenario in your manual test case. Now, when I talk about creating a test case, these are created with the help of test commands, which we have in here in the test section. We can either drag and drop, or we can just double click it to include it in our test case here. So with that sort of setting, I have created a couple of test cases, or I would say bunch of test cases that uh, takes you through a number of use cases with testing is that is offered currently. So in this first test case, what we are doing is we are referencing a table, and based on our matching criteria, we are, depending upon the criteria which we are doing, it will click on a view button of a particular record and validate it based on what we are passing it as an expected value here. So this is a web UI test case. We are adding checkpoints here, that is comparison between your expected value and actual value, and then based on that evaluation, we will be validating the customer details and then checking some text value based on that website. So let's go through. So what it does is it will invoke the browser, and it will take you to each and every record that is in the table, and if it matches with the expected result, it will click on the view button of the respective row, and then it will validate some customer details based on what we have passed as an expected result. So this is the report which comes in after a test case is run. This is a project summary. You can see the execution details like OS and browser details, execution time, environment, etc. if you have set up. So you have on the left hand side, if you see the tree, then you have option of seeing the test case and test suite hierarchy. When you dig down to your test case layer, you have step level summary. Now when you talk about step level summary, this was about a data driven test case which it looped through, and it is presented in the iteration wise format. So if you see in ninth or in the 11th iteration, it found its expected result, and so this is the exact test case scenario which we have automated. Moving on to the next test case which we have is validating the UI aspect, that is a validation of color and title of the web page. Over here we are checking the title of the web page, and then we are fetching the CSS value, that is the color aspect of a particular title band, and then we will be validating it uh, with our string comparison operations, and then based on the evaluation we will be passing or failing the test case here. So let's run through this. So if it doesn't match with the expected result, the test case would fail, and if it matches, then it will pass. Okay, so it failed, so it didn't match with the expected result, and if you see the failed test case, it would show you the exact value. So what it does is, whenever there is a failure of a test case, then it will capture a screenshot here. So if you see the screenshot, you would get a fair idea about what was the exact scenario when it failed it. So that helps when you log a bug through TestingWhiz and produce uh, as a proof to a developer. So that was about web testing. Moving on to the next set of test case which we have is about FTP validation. So what we are doing is we are opening up a file and then we are comparing the two files, and if a particular file is found any difference, if there is any difference between the two file, then it will print something in this particular file, otherwise it will just be blank. So, and at the end I am completing the cycle that after your upload, just delete the comparison file, that is your expected file, and then when we run the test case next time, it should follow the hierarchy and it should not give the error of the existing file. So let's run through. So this is a backend process. It will not open up any browser. It will just show you the exact log to check the existence of any file and comparing the file with the file difference mechanism. So if you see the console, it shows as the remote file exists. And then it uploaded the file successfully. Then on the file difference mechanism, what I'm doing is I'm checking, let's check this particular file if there is any difference or not. So if there is any difference, this particular CSV file will be populated. If not, then it will be blank. Yeah, there is no difference in between those two files, that's why it kept it as blank. Now let's move on to the next test case, set of test case about firing your shell scripts. Like if I'm talking about um, validating something from my uh, Linux machine, then what I'm doing is I'm firing a shell script that is available through my Windows system. For that, we need to have the connection made it here, that is on the FTP section here. And then once this connection is okay, we can be able to fire some shell scripts. So as you see, I have created one small connection mechanism here. And once that connection is successful, I can go ahead and fire shell scripts, etc. So let's run through this. So what I'm doing is I'm actually checking a file is available or not on that particular uh, file directory. So over here, if you see, it didn't find that particular file. So it was actually verifying that this particular file is available in that uh, string or not. So right now it is not available and it failed our test case, that is file presence validation failed. So with this kind of customization, you would be able to quickly identify what exact failure is there, and you can quickly run a bug tracking report, posting a bug through your bug tracking tool. Second use case is about quickly firing up a PowerShell script that you have. Right now, if you see, uh, I want to get a date with PowerShell script. So this is just a sample example of getting a desired format date from PowerShell script, and then whatever the output of this particular file would be, it would be stored in a target variable which will be specifying here. And then based on that, I'm validating it on the UI. So what I'm doing is I'm opening up a web page and then setting a value and then verifying it what it has set up exactly. So based on that comparison, I'm making it pass or fail. So let's run this. So it's a mix and match of firing a backend script that will be validated on the UI. So if you see, the test case has run through and it has matched the exact date which was available on the website, comparing it with the PowerShell script. Moving on to big data concept, like there was a concept of validating your databases on the on the fly, and whatever test case, I mean, data driven test case or database testing test case, you have a database testing use case which you have a business scenario. So what you can do is you can add your data connection, database connection here. So for example, if I want to connect to any of my database servers, I would add a record here, or I would say add a profile here. Like let's say over here, if you see, I have my Hive Hadoop connection available. I can check the connection based on the availability of the server. I can connect to these many databases. So wide variety of databases are available at your disposal. You can connect any one of your database type and then provide your necessary credentials. Once that is done, we can similarly check for the connection. If the connection is successful, I can go ahead and add database section commands. Like if I talk about database queries, so I have database fetch to bring data from your databases. I have query command which can fire some query that does not return any kind of value to my script. So that kind of queries you can fire in query database query command. Then if you want to directly compare two databases, you can use database comparison. And if you want to specifically execute some procedures that have parameters to it, you would be able to use that with the execute procedure test command. So I have this basic um, big data section, that is I'm connecting to my Hive instance and I'm firing a query that would bring the data from the Hive database. And then I'm for the demo purpose, I'm limiting it to 30,000 records, and then I'm storing it into a CSV file that is available on my D drive. And I'm giving a timeout session that can take up to some time for returning me a successful query return. And based on that, I'm cleaning a data set. So this is another interesting thing that you can do is for data validation. So let's say if you have a data that has been brought in from your migrated databases, like if you are migrated from a structured database to an unstructured database like Hive, or file database system like HDFS. So you can bring that data into a CSV file and then apply some logic of validating it through a typical data type. So let's say I'm validating it to my status. So for example, I have here a status column, and I'm bringing a rule that this column should have alphabetical data. If not, then it should replace it with this value. So if I take a look at this particular file, so it is having a particular set of rows which have a lot of data, that is 30,000 rows of data. And if you see this data, you have a corrupt data which is available on this particular column. So this, what it will do is it will change this particular value to our set value here. So if the rule is broken, it will replace it with this particular string, and we would be able to specifically identify what were the changes, and it would store all those values in the target file, that is sample.csv. And again, the timeout based on how much amount the time is taking based on the validation. So let's run through this and we can see the exact transformation of the data. So if you see the console of that particular test command, it is showing you that it substituted this particular amount of data in this particular column. It substituted this much amount of data in this particular column. So based on what rule is broken or not, we have successfully cleaned our data, and this was the statistics. So if you see the exact result, So this is the final result which was produced by TestingWhiz. So if you see here, it has replaced the value clean wherever it has found the data rule to be broken. So that's how it looks like. And over here, if you see, this particular column is also cleaned up. So that's how a data cleansing activity can be performed based on whatever data has been fetched from the unstructured data type, and that's how it can be done. So this was about a basic use cases about each and every functionality of your aspect of testing. You can always do much of the test cases. You can create any number of test cases inside it, and going ahead, you can achieve any complex business use case along with this. So that was it from the webinar section. If you have any questions, you can raise up. We are we are ready to answer your questions for 5 to 10 minutes. So let's bring up your questions. Okay, so there's one question from one of the one of the prospect here. So the question is about, are you planning to bring in RPA sometime in future? To answer that, yes, we have that in our roadmap, but not as of now. It is dicey, I would say, if it is included in TestingWhiz or not. If it would be uh, uh, entirely a new product, we would be dealing with that soon. But yeah, that is on our roadmap soon. Okay, so there's another one. Um, yes, Manju, you can type your question in the question box. So there's a question from one of the prospect, that is, does TestingWhiz support integrated testing which allows users to prepare test suite which includes web, mobile, and DB? Yes, absolutely. I showcased you a sample use case which included PowerShell scripting with the UI. Yes, absolutely, it is doable. You can add multiple test commands, and which can cater to multiple aspects of your testing and create a integrated test case.
So there's another question from a prospect, that is, can we use variable reference in object repository?
So
Yes, we can definitely use variable reference in your centralized object repository.
So we'll wait for a couple of more minutes for your questions, and then we can move ahead. Yeah, there's another question like, is there any support for write once, run anywhere kind of thing? For example, writing test cases into TestingWhiz and generate Selenium script for the same thing. I would say no, because there's a proprietary format of the test case file which is being generated by TestingWhiz, which would be opened up inside TestingWhiz itself. It cannot be opened up or executed in any other tool. So you have a flexibility of dealing with understanding the test cases only in TestingWhiz. So there's no conversion in any kind of language, because we don't believe in complexity. We believe in the simplicity of the test cases.
So there's another question, does it working for load testing? So as of now,
no, we are mostly focused on functional aspects of testing.
And web testing. So,
yes.
But we are definitely planning load testing in the near future.
Yes, Manju, your question is, do you plan to support Cassandra database? Yes, we are planning to have that connector with TestingWhiz in coming up releases. So you should be able to hear from us soon on that part.
Again, there's a question, can we perform any comparison between images? Yes, you have an individual functionality to perform image comparison within the TestingWhiz application. So that feature can help you to perform image comparison and it will give you specific result based on the differences match.
Wonderful. So there's another question from Vinod, that is, can we test functionality at same time all browsers support? Uh, I would say one by one in a sequential manner. You can schedule your test cases in the scheduler, or with Jenkins integration, you can do that and speed up your test case regression testing uh, script. So yes, you can do that, but there's a way to do it.
Again, we have, can we achieve end-to-end testing using TestingWhiz? Of course you can. As we discussed, you can have multiple validation on your UI layer, database layer, API layer on a single test case and perform your end-to-end testing, and you can validate your entire scenario using a single test case.
So there's another question saying, as is there any facility to execute testing with scripts on cloud platforms like BrowserStack and Source Labs? So yes, you have option of executing your test cases on BrowserStack. So you have to create a profile and create browsers instances on the settings configuration section, and then you would be able to execute them on BrowserStack and Source Labs. Yes, so we are running out of time, so we should complete and wrap up our webinar now. And if you have any other questions, or if you think that you need a specific demo to your use case, you can ask, you can send us an email on info@testing-wiz.com, and we would be happy to give you a personalized demo on your specific time. So
Also, we will be sending you an email with the webinar link to access this recording. And the webinar will be available offline on our YouTube channel. You can also access it from our official website, that is www.testingwiz.com.
all right, so that was it from this webinar. uh, Hope to see you soon, and let's catch up on our demo. Thanks everyone, have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.